Hungies. Hungies. Hungies.
You know that Nicolas Cage had to sleep with 6 prostitutes just to get in character every day?
Hungies. Hungies.
Have you guys heard about the Lyre Festival?
I don't know what's up.
It's this new music festival. It has like sluts and like dubstep beats, but with professional lyre players over it.
Wow. How much for a ticket?
It's getting a lot of buzz. It's already sold out. It's $250,000 per ticket.
That Bryan Singer article.
That,
Fucking wild.
oh yeah.
Where they had like high school keggers for these little boys and they're encouraged to have sex with older men.
2019 millennials. Fuck it.
Actually, that's not true.
There's a sex recession.
There's a sex recession. Millennials
There's a
are having
baby
less
recession.
sex than the previous generation, and also there's a decline in the birth rate.
I didn't read that article that said that. Did they have any sort of like points?
I want more
they
pizza.
made? You want this pizza?
Well, just that there's a declining birth rate. Everybody hates themselves. Nobody wants to get married. Nobody wants to have kids.
Help me.
Because of the worst. I want to see you eat that piece as fast as Jackson ate the first. Yeah, girl. Get it.
Now this is a lesbian music festival. Makes sense.
All right, so you guys are ready to record, right?
Let's do it!
Yeah, don't do that, okay?
Go up.
So epic. Is that full beer, Josh?
It's vodka.
Whoa.
Delicious.
Sounds like you like to party.
I bought $2 million worth of alcohol and put it in this bottle. Oh, sorry. Just had a big old meal.
We just ate a bunch of pizza, man.
We did. We loaded up on bread, cheese, and sauce.
A bunch of fucking pizza, man. Hello. Welcome to Be Honest, episode 29.
I didn't see you there.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hey. What are those things?
I'm Addison.
I'm Jackson.
And I'm Josh. I'm the star of the show.
Josh is the star of the show.
So
That's why he's
Joshcast.
in the middle of the frame. It's the Josh cast,
Josh,
actually.
yeah.
It's kind of embarrassing, but...
What are you going to do?
So we're here to talk about what is the buzz of the town right now.
The
The
buzz.
the Fyre Festival documentaries on Netflix and Hulu.
That's right. I wonder how that happened. Where they both must have like caught wind of each other's release dates.
Hulu just beat Netflix.
Couple days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Contentious.
Yeah.
It was contentious, and I think I'm not sure which went into production first, but I think it might have been Hulu.
Well, it makes sense if they got it out a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I expected theirs since they like kind of like threw it in front of Netflix. I was like, oh, that's gonna be like a low production, like just throw it out there, like get it out while it's hype from the Netflix, and you can make some money off some streams or
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be really high production, the Hulu one.
It did, and they both offer two like fairly distinct angles, I felt like. And there's reasons for that, obviously. But as far as between the two docs, just real quick for people who haven't seen it, if they want to, before they watch this, what did you guys prefer between the two of them?
Oh, interesting question.
Right off the gate.
Oh, do you want me to elaborate?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Like with an opinion, maybe?
I want to pick. I think it's one of the other.
I fucking
No,
hate you.
okay, all right. I watched this is interesting. I watched the Netflix one first
As did I.
because I was like, everyone's saying, oh, Netflix that's the better one. For some reason, people were saying it's a better version of it. And then I watched the Hulu one today, and I gotta say, I think you need to watch the Netflix one first and then the Hulu one, but I prefer the Hulu one.
I would say the exact same thing.
Me too. The Hulu one, I think, had a stronger message about influencers and millennials, and also Billy McFarland, the guy who was the founder of Fyre Festival, as well as Magnesis, which was his credit card company he did before.
And I thought it was interesting they actually presented that origin story in the Hulu documentary that wasn't in the Netflix one.
I think they hinted to it at Netflix really quick.
Well, but the story specifically where he like ordered a piece of sheet metal from China and magnetic strips and put his debit card onto it and then tried to use it, and he just like felt cool having a metal card, like a metal debit card to use.
Right.
And he's like, I think that there are other idiots out there that would pay me to do this for him, basically. Because that's my understanding of Magnesis, is like it's a club, so to speak, but it's not like its own credit card or anything like that.
It was basically a middleman between you and your credit card company, where they would reissue you this card that would be, tied to Chase Bank or whatever bank you're using, and then it would come with perks. You would pay a membership fee, and it would come with perks on top of getting this exclusive card. And pretty much the one perk everyone got it for was that there was this townhouse in New York,
which my wife referred to as the rape house.
Well, actually,
that's the vibe I got too.
There's this former Magnesis employee, and she has this amazing line about the people who paid into Magnesis and bought the membership, was like, if they could be in a fraternity after college, that's what this was for them.
It was like old school, basically.
Right.
Maybe
there's this party house in New York where you can come meet people.
And the pictures of the people that were there, it looks like the room had an awful odor. I'll just say that. I bet that room stank.
Right. The actual pictures of what was going on, but the advertisements in foreshadowing Fyre Festival, there'd be like advertisements of models and influencers hanging out at this house, and people would be like, gotta be there.
Yeah. Yep. And so that's kind of how Billy McFarland made his fortune, right? Like, that's how he made his first bit of money.
That's how he got the facade of fortune.
Okay.
Because he had this investor who was the oil tycoon, who was actually a fraud himself.
Was that the guy that's like, I always believed in that boy?
He's the OKC Thunder owner, too.
Oh.
The guy, he tells a story of doing his pitch for Magnesis, and he's in the back of the room, like, banging the card on the table and, like, taking pictures of it because he was so impressed with it. He put in a $500,000 loan into Magnesis, and then all of a sudden Billy McFarland's driving Maseratis. And,
that's right.
That's right. Hanging out with models and like having bottle service at nightclubs. And so he was able to. That was like his start of selling people on an idea that wasn't as successful as he makes it seem, and then taking their money and just investing it into this image and maintaining this image of and then using that to sell other people. It's really a Ponzi scheme.
It does have some like multi-level marketing type foundation to it.
Well, I don't want to skip too far ahead, but the end of like after the Fyre Festival like crashes, like with Frank or whatever, that felt like just the lowest level of attempt at a scam. We can talk about that later, but like just like starting in a scam and then ending in an even like more obvious scam.
Well, that was like just a straight up scam where you're selling something you don't have.
Yeah.
Where in this case, he was selling tickets to like the Oscars or like really exclusive Beyonce tickets.
Right. But the Magnesis thing, I think in the Netflix documentary, because they take more of a shot at his ability to manipulate. I think they dive more in depth into that than say the Hulu one. The Hulu one still does it, but there's definitely like a psychological analysis of Billy, Billy Bucks a Plenty, which is what I like to call him.
And they open with that story of him selling crowns or fixing broken crowns.
Oh my god, that's the worst anecdote I've ever heard in my life. He's like, yeah, so it was just like this girl I had a crush on in 2nd grade, and her crown broke. And I said, I can fix it for you if you give me $1. And then I fixed it, and then I hacked into all the computers in the school,
to
2nd grade.
advertise myself.
And so like you couldn't. I locked all the teachers out. I said, I'm gonna buy more crowns. And it's like, fuck that guy.
Well,
What a bullshit story.
It's a bullshit story, and it's like any story a genius would tell you, where it's just like, I've been smarter than everyone forever.
Right. Well, a genius fraud.
Yes, somebody who's trying to sell themselves that way.
That's like a car salesman mentality, which the Hulu definitely touches on. But like having that like this bullshit story of like being a savant at the age of 6 or 8, whatever. When do 2nd graders? How old are they? What
7.
is it? Where
They're
am
like
I?
7, 7, 8.
Where am I?
I don't know.
Yeah. So, but the Magnesis thing, they were talking about in the Netflix documentary that they weren't like, no one was getting the benefits that the card promised, and like all the reviews were just like, I didn't like I can't contact anybody. So like they were essentially selling nothing.
Well, actually,
it was just a physical thing.
It's interesting you mentioned the ticket sales at the end, because that was actually part of Magnesis, where you're going to get these exclusive access to these tickets. And she tells the stories of Billy McFarland selling tickets to Hamilton, and people were like, dude, there's no way you're going to get these tickets to give these people. And like some way he would pull it through at the last second by selling tickets to another event he didn't have tickets for, and then he'd be out in the front of Hamilton giving out these tickets to these guys.
Yeah, because he like bought a bunch on Ticketmaster, and then
like way overpriced.
Yeah,
because it's fucking Hamilton. Like,
right.
I don't know if you guys heard of that thing, but it's a pretty big deal.
Hamilton. So that's post Fyre Festival. But so he started Magnesis. He got this loan from the dude, and then all of a sudden he's living this life that he was projecting for Magnesis, right? So this was the way by which he achieved his first image obsession.
Yes.
Which I feel like the documentaries both catalog pretty well.
Obsessed with himself. Absolutely.
Obsessed with himself, and also obsessed with projecting the perfect image.
Right.
Well, he's projecting the image of wealth and connection. Like,
yes,
he's selling you this connection with these basically trust fund babies, these influencers.
Mm-hmm.
I forget which documentary it was. It might have been the Hulu one, but they touched on that. I think it was a nice little dovetail into the idea that he doesn't necessarily want to just like seem like he's this person who is well connected and wealthy and is with all these beautiful people and doing all these cool things and beautiful locations, but he like wants to embody what that represents, like the essence of being in those situations and living that lifestyle. He like wants to be that person, not just like seem like it and project it onto other people, but he like wanted to be wealthy and successful. He wanted to be the next fucking Mark Zuckerberg, and he just wanted to fuck.
But like a true millennial, he wanted all that success, but he didn't want to work for it.
I can't comment.
All of his schemes were fucking flimsy as fuck. And I bring up the whole millennial thing. I know that's bullshit as far as like instant gratification, millennials. But I bring that up because I feel like the Hulu documentary really emphasized the millennial aspects of these stories, being FOMO.
That's like how it opened, basically.
Yeah, which is fear of missing out. Instant gratification, obviously, like the imposter, the like how you project yourself as being perfect in all your social media so that people can't see any cracks in the facade. Hulu, and I think that's maybe what you were referring to, but the Hulu doc had way more of those ideas than the Netflix one did.
Well, I think that usually when I hear people like refer to themselves or just try to like group people into like your generation does this, your generation does that, I just cringe because it usually doesn't hold up. But one thing that I think is an interesting commentary that Hulu offers is the effect of social media on our generation, which it makes us really susceptible to manipulation and fraud, because it's so easy to throw up a video of models hanging out and partying on a beach and like somebody crawling into like a private plane and being like, we're offering you this experience for $12,000 ticket. You're gonna hang out on the beach with models, you're gonna party, you're gonna have just like this exclusive experience being offered to you. You get a glimpse into what it's like to be a celebrity.
And it taps into the FOMO, because who the fuck wouldn't want, if they could afford it, who wouldn't want to be there? Like, like the Fyre promotional video is like all these models on the beach or on yachts, like
bonfires, late night parties,
it's like
beautiful women.
Yeah, it's like the opening of like a porn scene where like before the fucking happens.
A very, very high production porn too, not just like.
There's some good production studios now. I can name 7.
Okay, all right.
That's a different podcast.
Apologies.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Josh Cast After Dark is what I need to be talking about.
But the reason that the Fyre Festival was such a success is because of that marketing thing that they had.
Just that commercial, basically.
That commercial that they did, which was done by Fuck Jerry, which
Right.
is a ad agency, I think, out of New York.
Social media marketing
Jerry.
agency.
A social media marketing agency, correct. And
So Hulu kind of gives them like a little bit of backstory. Do you understand like their origins? Where
do.
it seemed like there was a guy named Jerry who created like a fake account that got really popular.
His name's not Jerry. It's something. Maybe it's Jeremiah, but it's some weird non-name. He's an Instagram account who posted memes and shit.
Okay.
And I was following him back in like 2015 and 2016, and then I stopped because I noticed, or like more of the like low-key meme accounts I was like really into, and they were like, the Fuck Jerry just steals all of our stuff, doesn't credit us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we try to contact him, and like he just seemed like a shitty guy. And then he like transitioned to the marketing,
Cashed in on everybody else's hard work.
because him and like the Fat Jew, which is another social media guy who
They steal all that shit.
Yeah,
don't
they all were just stealing shit, which really doesn't look good for Fat Jew because he's just playing into a stereotype.
No comment. Actually, that's interesting because one of the Twitter accounts that I follow. So basically, what he would do is he would screenshot your tweet and then post it on his Instagram and not credit you.
Right.
And-
You like crop out your name or something, or even just leave your name in. I don't know. Just like doesn't link you to the other person.
Right. He doesn't promote you. He just promotes your material through his account. And so the guy was just like, "Fuck you," and the guy who runs the Fat Jew account, he like came at him. He was like, you know, like the way to handle that is to just ignore somebody who you're stealing stuff from. But he was like coming at the guy.
so he was like, the guy was like, "Hey, you stole my shit," and then the Fat Jew was like, "Fuck you."
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's interesting to know that Fuck Jerry had those same origins because they like don't deserve their notoriety.
Right. He had the origins of like influencer and just like someone that just didn't give a shit about like.
Was he in this
ethics.
documentary? The guy who founded Fuck Jerry?
No,
Okay.
his other guy is in it though.
The guy who's featured in it. And so Fuck Jerry produced the Netflix documentary.
Right.
And I think that's important to note. And so they got paid for it, which I think that's the thing that I don't like about these documentaries the most is Billy McFarland got paid for the Hulu one, and then these dudes got paid for the Netflix one. So they're still profiting off of this shit.
Right.
Which I think is...
Which is absolutely what he was trying to do too. Billy was after the whole thing. He's like, we got to just make a movie out of it.
Right. And so...
Absolutely.
So they're making money off of this, which is then going to allow them to do this again in the future.
I feel less bad about the Hulu one because Billy McFarland is beyond broke. He's in federal prison for years.
Like 6 years, I think.
But these Fuck Jerry guys, first thing, they get to hide their involvement with it to a certain extent, and they get this platform to defend themselves, which is interesting because the Hulu documentary definitely points out the fact that they were very complicit in hiding the fact that this was not going to be a successful festival. It was a complete disaster waiting to happen because they would go in, people were like, "Hey, I haven't got my tickets yet. What's going on, Fyre Festival?" And they would go in and delete their comment and block them.
Netflix sort of touched on that though.
Did they?
They did. I think they did it in a different way. They were like,
Oh, they were like, "We got Billy made us do this."
well, yeah, it was Billy made us do this, but also I think the one guy that represented Fuck Jerry, he said, well, we would just forward them to Fyre, their actual representation,
Yeah.
and like that's all we could do. And so I think they kind of like scapegoated that, and then the dude that was working for Fuck Jerry, that was on the Hulu doc, said, like, no, we just were deleting everything. Like we would do all these different like codes for words, and what is that called? Code words.
Oh, just like searching like
Yeah, just so that like you
comments.
can like and like filter out certain things, and then just like delete.
You know who was a interesting person they interviewed? I think in both documentaries was the guy who made the Twitter account fire disaster or whatever it was.
Fire fraud.
Yeah.
And he like saw it coming.
He did. Well, yeah, and he was trying to warn people against it, against paying to go to it.
Yeah.
And he had this line. He was like, how do you add legitimacy to something? Oh, have Ja Rule advocate for it or something like that. And
okay.
And he just sat in his chair and just laughed to himself over his own joke. it was good.
It actually was really funny.
Wait. Okay, the camera is moving a bunch.
Oh.
I just didn't want to I was trying to get a natural pause. Sorry. Okay.
That's okay. I'll edit in like a clip of Ja Rule doing a thug ballad or something like that.
You should get him taking those shots on the happy hour thing where he's just like fucking at the end of the Hulu.
Oh yeah,
just
the
taking
drunk talk.
And it was my vision. Oh.
So here's a question.
Here's
for
to
you.
partying like a rock star, living like a movie star, and Billy
fucking like a porn star. I like how both documentaries included that.
I know, because it was so fucking cringe.
That was the
So
worst.
how much guilt do you guys assign to Ja Rule now that his name be brought up?
His name be brought up, and he obviously fought back this week on Twitter. He was like, "Oh, you guys watch a documentary and you think that you know everything."
He did, and he was like, I was bamboozled.
Yeah.
It was my vision, but I didn't know anything.
What a piece of shit.
And I think that's weird. He's not really included in the Netflix. 'Cause obviously, he didn't comment on it, but I don't see him around when shit's starting to go down, and they're really.
It's because he wasn't there.
Yeah, and then same thing with the Hulu. There's just not around, but he comes afterwards and claims his work. What a weird. That guy's dumb. I think that's just my opinion.
I think he's dumb. He has this this image of himself. I think I told you guys before, is he describes himself as a mogul in his Twitter account.
He's said it in the documentary multiple times.
He wishes he was Jay-Z.
He wishes he was Jay-Z or P. Diddy, where he has these separate business ventures that make him into a billionaire.
Mm-hmm. Instead, I think maybe he was reasonably smart and saved some of the money from his career, because it seems like he's still living his best life. He's still fit and he's still wearing
expensive clothes and doing all this
Yeah,
shit.
did he put money into this at all?
He says he lost money.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Which would make sense.
It actually kind of lines up with what other people are saying at the end of the documentary. I think it was just the Hulu documentary, actually, where Billy was using his employees' personal credit cards to rack up hundreds of $1,000s of debt. So it's not surprising he would go to Ja Rule and play him.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, man, just pay this bill and you're going to get your money back right away. We're going to get a huge turnover on this.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with the fact that he just doesn't seem very smart, and he seems like the perfect mark for Billy. So their history goes back to Magnesis, because he was able to get Ja Rule to come perform in this frat house, basically the townhome.
Oh yeah.
And then I think Ja Rule was just like, wow, this guy really seems like he has something, and was trying to latch on him to achieve this mogul lifestyle that he envisions for himself.
Guys, I don't know.
Big Ja Rule fan over here. having trouble
Ja
stomaching
Rule
it.
apologist.
I think you're looking at him all wrong. I gotta say, watching 2 documentaries about just fucking frat boys and overindulging assholes fail, but also con a bunch of people is exhausting. And
you were having too much fun.
I was like, yeah.
You were cheering on,
I did comment to my cat Jabuki. I said, "This is fucking crazy," and he looked at me. And, it's just a fucking it's draining to think that so much effort is put into having a festival, and then so much effort is put into marketing and doing all these things, and because you're also interviewing in the podcast that. In our special interview podcast.
Josh is not drinking tonight. I will just note that real quick.
It's just water. No, you're interviewing people that work for Fyre, work for Fuck Jerry and all that stuff. They're putting in all this effort and there's so much pressure, and it's just after the fact, they can kind of laugh about it, but it's also draining to think about all the effort that's wasted, and people coming out of it are just that ruined my life. The FBI was contacting me.
Right.
it's kind of funny to like, oh, look at the disaster that this is, but also like just you think about it for 2 minutes and you're just like, fuck, who gives a shit about Billy McFarland?
This guy's a fucking bummer.
Yeah,
like
that's a better way to
just
say it.
Sucks.
He's toxic.
Yeah, he just sucks. I thought
He's canceled.
Dude, he got canceled by the federal government.
Honey,
that's the ultimate authority.
the government called, you're canceled.
I thought my favorite part of the Netflix documentary was the segment that basically was all the footage from people's cell phones of them like at the airport. They're on the way to the Fyre festival and they're so fucking excited, and like the excitement's palpable. And of course, us watching this, we know that it's going to be nothing but fucking misery. But the enthusiasm is like kind of contagious, and it got me thinking a lot just about how fucked up the shit is that this guy has been doing to these people, like selling this experience and then not delivering on it. But I also, that's sort of besides the point, I also love the bus ride sequence.
So there's that guy with
the reveal. The reveal of the tents.
They go around the bend.
The FEMA tents, yeah.
They go around the bend and everyone is like, no! No! No!
Well, there's
Turn around!
Turn around!
The redheaded guy with the strong lisp.
Yes.
He is like the star of the bus scene because he you could hear him yelling in the background of every video from the bus where he's just like, yeah, turn around! What, are we going to burn it afterwards?
I guess we're getting our money's worth.
And he's interviewed in the Netflix one. I don't think he's in the Hulu.
No, I don't remember him being in the Hulu one. But yeah, and then like the shit they were talking about. So everyone's there, like they're fucking like forming a mob because they don't know what to do. And then was it Billy that went out and talked in the middle of the crowd, or was that his crony? Like
it was Billy.
It was Billy.
It was Billy.
Yeah, he got up on the table and he was the one who talked to the giant mob of people and said, "Everybody, go grab an empty tent."
Yeah.
Well, and
I love the hurried Instagram videos of people who are,
like wheeling their luggage out there.
This is chaos.
Through the sand. They have the roll luggage through the sand. It's like
the handles just break off. They're wobbling too much.
And then they like go fucking wild and start stealing mattresses from other tents.
Yes.
Oh, that one guy was saying the Asian fella who was being interviewed in the Netflix one was like, yeah, we were trashing other tents so we didn't have any neighbors, so we were going around pissing in tents.
Yeah, I can't believe he copped to that.
Like, why would he? Yeah, like, what a shitty person. Doesn't make you sound like, oh, well, it's just been like 2 hours since we got here. Might as well fucking trash everything. Like,
they're telling the story about the person who found like the pallet full of pillows and they wouldn't give anybody anything. Pallet full of pillows and
is this gonna come up?
Person with a pallet full of pillows.
Are the pops gonna come up? Because we've been popping off.
But you know what? They want to see our beautiful faces.
We'll have to get. Maybe they have some like just pop filters we could put over the mic.
Yeah, just some little. Yeah.
You're talking about stacks of mattresses just laying out like soaked.
Yeah, so they tell a story about like how they see the guy walking past them just carrying like a stack of mattresses, and also the person who had all the pillows and wouldn't give anybody any.
Like someone like took a whole like stack of toilet paper, like 70 rolls of toilet paper. This woman was just like, yes, I'm on it. Like, I gotta go. I got my toilet paper because I'm gonna be here for a month.
People went feral like that. Like it was literally right back to the fucking Stone Age.
I'm just gonna get in there real quick. God, we have video. I can't believe people can see me acting a fool.
You crazy.
One thing I wish they did was that they showed it, like the progress of getting there, because I feel like one thing both documentaries are lacking is actual footage of them, like things falling apart. Like you see the same maybe like 10 minutes of footage of like them unloading the luggage from like the truck, where they're just like, everybody come get some luggage.
And there's like freights.
Yeah, like the freight truck. And also just like Billy McFarland on the table being like, things aren't going as planned.
Blink-182 has pulled out.
Isn't that interesting that Blink-182 were like
they smelled
They were the pebble on the mountain.
Yes.
That started the mudslide.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Which that lineup too, I also fucking LOL'd at.
Major
When they
Lasers.
showed it for the first time, I was like, "Who the fuck wants to see that show, even if it is in the Bahamas?"
And the guy who booked everybody, he's like, I've never done this before.
he's like, I'm 23. I'm 23 years old. I never fucking booked
He's like,
talent.
I'm grossly overpaying for everybody.
He was actually
And literally-
fun. I liked him a lot. In
He
the
seemed
Netflix.
really down to earth.
Yeah.
He was in the Netflix one, right? Like,
Yes.
yes.
he's just like, yeah, I'm just, and he's like arguing with people on like his little iPhone headphones. Like, just some kid, man. Like, imagine that shit.
It could not have been more mismanaged at any point. And I don't know if footage necessarily exists of it like crashing and burning. It was just a lot of voiceover of people explaining, like, as we started to do the math and the really hard thinking about this, we realized that the time that we had, one, was nowhere near enough, and we realized that, two, we have nothing close to the kind of talent on hand that's needed to pull something like this off.
Well, apparently they were really talented. There was a lot of like a group of like a team that like was like familiar with the industry and like marketing and like getting things done.
But the guy that you guys were just talking about, the young guy who was booking
Right.
the shows, he was like, I've literally never booked any show ever, and now all of a sudden I'm booking a festival.
Right.
And you have
Like-
to do it like in a week, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean that is not putting the whole production in competent hands.
That's fair.
There
Well-
were a few people, yes, that kind of knew what they were doing, like his homosexual friend.
Oh, Andy
I think it was-
King,
He seemed
Andy,
like some
yeah.
sort of a fixer. Like he would just make things happen.
because he came on like halfway through.
Right.
And he was like singing Billy's praises too. He was like,
He's like,
Billy's
I believed in him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the most brilliant kids I ever met, and he really tapped into this millennial thing. And then he asked me to suck dick.
to get
It was
to get
Grant.
water.
Grant
To get
asked him,
water.
I think.
Oh, it was probably Grant, his fucking sycophant.
Yeah,
who was always
let's
on
talk
the
about
phone.
Grant for a second.
Okay.
He's coming up. He's a EMT now, apparently.
Really?
They said that. In
Where'd
the,
you-
they said that in the.
I don't want him in charge of anyone's life.
I know.
Well, they said that in the Hulu one.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
But he looks like Jonah Hill.
He's
In
Billy
Wolf of Wall
McFarlane's,
Street.
right hand man.
He's the Wolf of Wall Street, Jonah Hill. He's Leonardo DiCaprio's Billy McFarlane.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah. He just yells
Billy
at
Mc-
people. And,
Billy McFarlane doesn't yell as much though.
Not even right hand man, just like suckling little.
seems so sleazy.
Yeah, and he's just on phones and he's just like demanding things
Control
out of people.
freak too, where they tell the story about
See-
he had like a massive email to like that was just telling them what type of music should be in this promotional
How it should be
video.
composed and
Yeah,
and it was like just horrible. He seemed like he abused people. Like I don't want to accuse him of that, but he seemed like a guy that
yeah.
pushed to the limit. Like he would just start whether like just attacking people or like verbally abusing people. He didn't seem like he had any line that couldn't be crossed.
So after Fyre Festival, I think it was his employees actually of like the Fyre Media Company. They had like a list of demands of Billy where they said this guy has to go. Grant. They're like he's toxic. We don't want him here anymore. So it seems like he was abusive to people.
Yeah, he was like one of the first people to go. They like Billy just fired him like almost immediately afterwards. Apparently.
Speaking of people who were fired, like early on, Netflix presents this like voice of reason, the Dutch guy,
Yes.
because right after they
Sweet little Dutch guy.
they release this promotional video and things are blowing up, it seems like this guy's like the only one who sits down and like gets a piece of paper and like starts doing the math. And he's like, okay, like we can't have everybody on this island. We actually have to get a cruise ship, and it's going to be a logistical nightmare.
Well, and then they lost the first island too. That was like the really huge
From
blow.
the promotional video.
Yeah, because because the guy was trying to rebrand it. It was a island used by one of Pablo Escobar's guys.
I think it was owned by Pablo.
It was
Escobar,
owned by
wasn't it?
Pablo Escobar, but his guy lived there. It was the character in Blow. Bye. I can't
wait.
remember his name.
do you mean this blow?
I mean, this Blow right here.
What blow?
And his name
That Blow.
is
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Oh, I know you're talking about. That's Benicio del Toro.
No.
Guillermo del Toro.
Anyways,
Alfonso Cuarón.
interesting story about this movie. Ted Dem, the director of it. It's a movie about cocaine. Ted Dem
Ted Dead Redemption.
be dead like 2 years later from cocaine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
Oh,
he
he
died
was
of a heart
inspired by his
attack
own
induced by cocaine. He was like playing basketball and was like,
He's playing basketball and doing coke.
Yep, I guess
That's
so.
a bad recipe.
I guess so.
No, give it back.
Anyways, his name was, I can't remember his name. Not the point.
But they lost the island.
They lost the island because the dude who owned it was like, I'm trying to rebrand this. Do not mention Pablo Escobar whatsoever in your promotion. And literally, it's the first screen, and it's like, on Pablo Escobar's private island. I mean, what a fucking moron!
Right. So they're out there looking for a new island, and they're trying to figure out what to do with all this raw human waste that's going to be generated from having like thousands of people on this island. And this guy's just sitting there doing the math. He's like, we're going to have to get porta potties.
Yes, he's like,
We're
we
gonna
need
have
to
get
buy
a
like
cruise ship.
like 10,000 toilets. Like,
Yeah. And this is not fitting into Billy's vision of a luxurious, exclusive, no porta potties in that promotional video.
Villas on the beach.
You don't see like a supermodel like kicking open a porta potty door and like trucking out with like toilet paper hanging out of her
much less
bikini.
standing in fucking line for a porta potty.
I should have had Bella Hadid just in line, like scratch, like just oh, I gotta go.
And Ja Rule walks out in front of her before she goes in. Like,
Look at all these celebrities shitting.
Ja Rule left it stinky.
Oh boy, that got Jackson.
You're making me puke on camera. Yeah, don't go in there for like 30, 45 minutes.
This is the promotional video I want to see. This is Ja Rule walking out of a porta potty with like toilet paper on his foot, just like
Shirtless with all the shitty tattoos.
So the drink in his hand. Murder.
It's murder. Holla, holla.
But they fired the Dutch guy who was actually trying to make it happen. Like he was like, this is the realistic product we can deliver for these people.
Still thinking about Ja Rule in the porta potty.
Yeah, I did for a minute.
Is Ja Rule taking a giant dump in the porta potty? And they fired him.
It's called his next album.
Giant dump in a porta potty.
It was his vision.
It's my vision all along.
Oh shit.
Yeah, they fired him because he had a feasible plan.
Because he was the first one to say it. You can't deliver on what you just promised these people.
Well, there's a monster above us. Oh.
Don't talk about my wife like that, man. She'll fuck you up.
So in the Hulu one, who's that? DeLeon, the
guy the Dutch guy or the guy who was making the accommodations,
the Bahaman guy that Billy was working with like pretty closely apparently.
Yeah, he would like call these guys up personally and like talk to them.
Yeah, because there's the one guy in the Netflix doc, and
these guys were the real victims.
His name is
this.
We should talk about that eventually because, Jesus, but jeez, Louise. Oh, jeez, Billy. DeLeon or whatever. I'm sorry, DeLeon or your name, whatever your name is. Billy asked him like the first, like before he even started this, he's like, "Do you think I could have a festival here, like at all, not in any time frame?" And he's like, "I don't think so." And then Billy's like, "All right, we'll be back in 2 weeks." And then he's like, "Yeah, right." And then he came back and he's like, "Oh my god!" And then he's like, "All right, we want to do it in 6 months." And he's like, "Not gonna happen." So he's like one of the first people, but he was still working with them. And then you have the Dutch guy, and then you have that other European fella who with the hat in the Netflix documentary. Don't know his name either. But
It was hard. For the record, it was hard to find a cast list for this, and we weren't about to rewatch this shit.
We're never gonna rewatch this.
What was his job?
He was doing some like production stuff, but he was telling Billy about. He was pretty much saying like there was that weird interaction when they were talking about they were looking at a map, or I forget what it was. No, it was the Dutch guy. It was the Dutch guy.
Suffice to say,
a lot of people said no.
The point of this is that many people told him that this was not going to work. Not any fucking way. Never, and let's put this in a time frame, ever
Right.
will this work? And he just went
he was
forward with
he
it.
was selling like luxury housing accommodations till like the last minute.
Yes, and too, having people load money
Onto the wristbands.
onto the wristbands,
Yes.
for the show. Like most people are putting on $3,000 to $5,000 for the show, something to that
for their
effect.
day passes or whatever.
He's just constantly milking these
Right.
people for every last dime that he could get. So this guy's a massive fucking con artist. I mean, huge fucking con artist. One thing I'm not
He's a
sure about
fraudster.
that I feel like that Hulu was trying to say is this guy emblematic of millennials? Is this guy emblematic of the social media age? Like, do you guys feel as though this dude is the future, the ideas that he represents, all of that shit? As far as like FOMO and being duped easily, and like, is this, what do you think?
Well, I think he's just a traditional con artist. But what I think is true that the Hulu documentary put forward is that it takes that traditional con man and amplifies it, because now he can make a promotional video, throw it on the internet, pay a bunch of celebrities. He can pay Caitlyn Jenner $250,000 to just post this picture.
We didn't talk about her, yeah. There was a lot of people
said
also
Caitlyn Jenner?
complicit in this that took money and took advantage of their...
Didn't make it obvious that they were taking money
Right.
to post this.
Right.
And all of a sudden he's got like $30 million that he's frauded, scam people out of.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like in the internet age, it's like you're easily able to fact check things, and really, it's kind of hard to like not like lie. Like it only can go so far. And I think the influencer element like really almost eliminates that barrier for people like Billy, who can just be like, yeah, this looks sketchy, but look at all the people that are involved that you want to be a part of, like you want to know and you want to, emulate or whatever. Like they're a part of it, so therefore, like you can kind of just forget about like, well, is this even a legit thing? And I think that's so it's similar. I think it's like exploiting like someone like the poor distillation of like our culture, of our age, of all this like fear of missing out and wanting to be a part of the moment, like coming into the form of this flabby aftershave or 5 o'clock shadow, shitty, ugly looking, 6'1", unathletic, smelly.
I feel like Hulu...
Sorry, I got a little upset.
I feel like Hulu was trying to make that point, and I've thought about it a lot this week, and I've tried to put the pieces together kind of in terms of like what this could mean in a bigger way.
Do you buy it?
I don't.
Really?
I mean, I think this guy is absolutely a con artist, and if anything, what he has done is he has found the perfect formula for conning people in the digital age.
Okay.
But I don't know that he's necessarily emblematic of like this millennial disease of FOMO and social media and blah blah blah. Like I think he just understood it in a macro way. Mm-hmm. And he knew that it would be easy to manipulate people through these channels because he saw, what do people like to see on here? They like to see other people's best lives, and that makes them want to live their best life. That will separate them from their cash, so on and so forth. It was all a pretty, I think, succinct formula for him. But I feel like the Hulu documentary was maybe a little reaching as far as what I just said.
Well, I mean, like the people don't change. Like the context in which we exist changes mostly. Like people always want to be a part of things. That's never, at least in the U.S. Like the 9th or the 20th century and the 21st century. That's been a pretty constant like existence for us.
The con artist is like as old as prostitution. Like that is one of the oldest occupations in human history. The con artist.
Yeah. So I mean, like, yeah, you're right. I think he just has like he found a way to manipulate it, and maybe he connects better to it because he is himself a millennial. He's like 28. Mm-hmm. Like he understands it, but also like has this sociopathic like block from empathizing with people who just want to like have a nice life and be able to show some shit off.
Hulu seemed to be pretty intent on having him diagnosed as a sociopath, where they had that some sort of psychiatrist or somebody basically describing sociopathic tendencies while showing footage of Billy McFarland doing what he's doing, which is, it's believable because she she's describing a sociopath, somebody who doesn't really even understand the truth or is concerned about the truth, which seemed like is what Billy was doing when he was talking about the festival. He was just like, this is going to work, when people were just like, this is obviously already not going to work.
Well, and then in the Hulu documentary, when they're interviewing him, they push him pretty hard. Like, you know, the voice that's off screen, they're definitely asking him tough questions, but he does not seem remorseful in the least to me.
No.
I don't think he understands or realizes the breadth of the impact that he's made on so many people, and also he doesn't care.
Right.
He's thinking about the next thing. He's on to the next thing.
Yeah, and that brings me to the wonderful people of the Bahamas.
Right. Oh, yes. Who actually, there was a Kickstarter.
There was, yeah.
That was started for that lady who paid out 50 grand of her own fucking hard-earned savings to pay the people who were involved with setting this festival up.
And also, I think, materials, too. So what happened was that the first wave of people who got to the island were basically just dumped off at her bar and restaurant. Oh, yeah. And she was just basically...
Like 20 minutes, 20 minutes before they told her.
Right, so she was basically stuck just... taking care of these people, and it came out of her own pocket, paying the staff, providing the liquor and food, and she thought she'd be reimbursed for it,
and she wasn't.
She apparently made like over $100,000 so far through her Kickstarter.
Yeah, her Kickstarter's popping off.
I think it's like 150,000. Yeah, she had a really touching.
At the end,
well, she did. She had a fucking conscience and a heart, and like she took care of the people who depended on her. Well, this dude is fucking Donald Trump. Okay, let's just say this dude is fucking Donald Trump.
Hulu definitely made that connection at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Netflix. Before I watched the Hulu one, I was like, "Is Netflix?" I was like, "Oh, I have a smart idea. I bet they're trying to make some subtle point that he is like Donald Trump and how we're all being conned." And then I watched the Hulu one, and they're already there. So yeah,
to be in my defense, I actually thought that I just made that connection organically because I don't remember that from the documentary.
But it's a really brief shot of like, oh, this is happening, all over social media and the internet, and then it cuts to Donald Trump.
I think they even say like one.
I see.
They drop his name once, or
do they?
They drop his name.
Yeah. So I mean,
that was beautiful.
Of course, to the shot of the cheese sandwich will be emblazoned in my memory forever. It's fucking hilarious, and it's also
the mustard,
the perfect metaphor for the whole fucking thing.
Well, so do you guys remember this happening?
I do. And I was so fucking excited for these documentaries to come out because I remember like something on Reddit came up it was like Ja Rule Music Festival. People showed up to like cheese sandwiches and limited water and stranded.
Yeah, had to be rescued.
Yeah.
I was on Twitter and all I remember just is seeing like tweets about like I see lockers and like there's a music festival on a beach and everyone's like stealing everybody's stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And that was pretty much it. I didn't look into it further.
I remember going to bed, and at that point, people, like, it had already been like, oh, this is a shit show. And then at night, people were like, this is turning into a humanitarian crisis.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like,
these people are stranded on an island, and they're going berserk, and they're, like, assaulting each other and looting. And it was like, we have to rescue them, basically. And people were tagging the State Department, like, come save us.
Oh my god. Imagine being on an island just tweeting U.S. State Department, Homeland Security.
So apparently I think only like 300 people showed up, and that's how many people were stranded. Which it sounds like there was enough FEMA tents to go around.
It does indeed.
So obviously the natives to this island who did all this work and didn't get paid, they're obviously victims. Do you guys see the people who flew in and attended this festival as victims? Because when it was first happening, people did not see it that way. They thought it was hilarious that a bunch of
privileged white kids got bamboozled.
Exactly.
I mean, yes, obviously they are victims. From just like a purely legal commercial standpoint, they were sold a product that didn't exist, and due to gross negligence, their lives were put at risk. So, yes, they are victims in this situation. That said, I also like laughing at privileged white kids being in situations.
Like being put into a Lord of the Flies situation.
Yes. And so, like I said, I gleefully laughed at the bus scene where they were, no, turn around! I loved it. It was fucking hilarious.
And being locked into the police station.
Yes. Yes, and like all of them like sitting in the airport, like trying to make phone calls and
Going on and off the plane.
the schadenfreude in this movie is delicious and rich and filling. I mean, I loved it. So would you guys say that both documentaries are an essential watch, or do you think just watch the Hulu one?
I would watch both.
Yeah, I'd watch. I mean, don't watch them. But if you need to, you don't have to watch them. But you can watch Netflix. I think you should watch Netflix first, because that really goes into the details of like how it happened, like how they like built everything or how they didn't build everything and the conflicts therein. And then I think the Hulu one kind of extrapolates a little bit further out, and does a little bit of like backstory as well.
Well, Netflix has a lot of footage that Hulu doesn't because it's being produced by Fuck Jerry, and
Right.
That's true.
they have this footage that they shot for this promotional video.
Which, honestly, that was the least interesting part of the Netflix documentary. That's probably the first 30 minutes of it, is talking about this fucking promotional video. Like, I could fucking care less. Let's move on to the festival. Let me see the cheese sandwich.
I thought it was interesting, and it did build me up a little bit. And
It was too long, though.
this guy doesn't like it long.
I don't like it long, but you know what I do like is Blow, directed by Ted Dem.
Ted dead.
You know what would make this documentary?
I wish you would've hit this.
You almost took out some cameras.
I did.
I think that they should have been stranded on the island for a couple more days to make this a better documentary. Because I think like the actual Fyre festival part ends too soon. Like they realize what's going on, they sleep a night, and then they leave.
When the
They don't
dramatization happens, when they make a film about this, then it'll be like 2 months that they're stranded on the island for the Fyre festival.
18 people die.
Kanye will have shown up, and he'll have formed tribes amongst all the people that have shown up. And I'm your one ruler. I'm a genius.
Hey, kill that girl.
And I like fish sticks. I like them in my mouth. Okay, cool. Does anyone else have?
What do you think? Do you think we should be watching
right.
this?
I didn't say that.
You have opinions, right?
Yeah, I do have opinions. Like I said, the first 30 minutes of the Netflix one kind of lost me, but overall, the bigger picture, everything about it, I pretty much ate up all the information that was in these, because it is a really interesting story. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would recommend it. If you have Hulu and Netflix, watch both of them.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Or you can watch Bird Box. Still streaming on Netflix, surprisingly.
Fuck off. Actually, there is a new Ted Bundy documentary that is aired today on Netflix. What the fuck am I talking about?
Wow, are we going to be able to catch it again? Is there a rerun?
No, it's supposed to be good though. It's like these tapes that he made describing his crimes, and it's supposed to be really. Lauren read the book or something, or listened to the tapes.
What's
and it's
the
supposed
book?
to be fucked up.
Okay.
Millennials.
It's a book o'clock.
Well, anyways, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, concerns, complaints, please feel free to email us at tobehonestcast@gmail.com. Fuck you. Real quick, I would just like to give a quick shout out to my coworker Barbara, who gave us these lights because our lights didn't show up on time. She has an Instagram, BJDC Photography. She's a photographer, hence why she has the lights. And then I'd also like to give a quick shout out to Mr. John Hartman, who, whether on purpose or by mistake, listened to like 14 of our episodes.
A grievous
this
mistake.
Week.
Hi, John. Sorry
he
about
listened
that.
to quite a few of them. John, thank you. We appreciate your support here at To Be Honest Cast.
Send us an
Please,
email.
send us an email. Let us know what you think of this new video portion of our program.
Hopefully the cameras are still recording.
Or
And
just
you
like,
can
what
send that-
are you doing? What are you thinking about?
Where you at? What are you wearing?
To Be Honest Cast at gmail.com.